Good morning, everybody. My name is Derek Overby, Senior Director of Community Development here at Roost, and I want to thank you guys for joining me for the Facebook 101 webinar. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to go ahead and show my screen, drop this out of the way really quickly. All right, so you guys are probably familiar with Facebook. That's a little social platform that about 640 million people around the world are using. But a lot of people don't understand fully all of the kind of intricate details that can make Facebook a much more enjoyable experience for you and also any people that are interacting with you. So I'm here on my Facebook landing page. Now, this is where my news feed is. And a lot of people don't understand when you sign up for a Facebook account, you know, they set up their profile, but that's not where you actually land when you come into Facebook. You land on your news feed. So what I want to break down for you guys really quickly is the news feed itself. So this is where a lot of the interaction is happening. People are not necessarily coming to your profile to interact with you. What's happening is certain information is hitting their news feed, and then they're interacting with it right out of this. Now that's not to say that they don't come to your profile and interact with it, or don't come to your business page and interact with it. But I would probably have to say that 95, if not 98% of the interaction is happening right here in the news feed. Now the news feed is broken up into two different feeds. One is the top news, and we'll get into this a little bit more in depth in just a minute or two. But this is the default landing news feed. So this is when you come in and you've never messed with the feeds whatsoever, this is kind of where you land. And what you'll notice is, depending on how many friends you have, whether you have thousands or you just have a few hundred, what you'll kind of notice is that you interact with a certain group of people on this top news feed. There's probably, for most people, I'd have to say it's somewhere between 20 and 30 people, and I'll explain that in just a second of why that happens. But some of you might not be aware that there's also the most recent news feed over here. So if you hover over this and you click it, on the most recent, what this is it's the stream happening in real time. So those of you that are familiar with Twitter, what happens on Twitter is you see, as soon as the tweets are put out onto public timeline, you see exactly when they come in. That's what it's like to be in the most recent news feed. And this is the way that Facebook used to work back before they had a top news feed. You would just see everything kind of in real time. So if you look down here on the timestamps, you'll see that they kind of go in chronological order back here. But you can also do some very interesting things over here on the most recent that you might not be aware of. If you click this little arrow, you pull down, you can actually break up the most recent into different segments. So if I want to just see posts that have, say, photos, I just bring it down here to photos, click on that, and then all I will see are the posts that have been put up, again, in just descending order, that have photos in the post. I can also come back up here if I want to just see posts that have links in it. So someone that has put a link into their post, I can also see this. I can also see, I have some lists over here, and we're going to get into lists in just a second. But I can also look at my list that I have, and this is why I feel lists are so important in Facebook, and they're just so underutilized. And I wish more people would use them, because it really does make Facebook a much more engaging experience if you can segment different people. Because to tell you the honest truth, there's a lot of people that put a lot of noise out there. There's some people that you follow that, you know, they're on Farmville, or they're on Mafia Wars, or there's some marketeers that get in there that maybe you didn't know they were a marketeer, and all they're doing is spamming you their latest, multi-level marketing project that they're working on. But I've actually made a list called People I Want to Get to Know Better. And so these are various people that are in my network that I want to get to know better. And I'll show you why that's so important in just a moment. But going back here to the top news feed, because most people, about 95% of all Facebook users, never deviate from this default setting, which is the to land on the top news feed. This is why I want to kind of break this down. So we do have a question here. Oh, Lucy's saying that she just really wants to know about how to make lists. So she's excited that we're going to talk about that. But before I get to that, Lucy, I'm just going to talk about the news feed for one quick more second. So Facebook introduced last March, not this last March in 2010, in 2011, but in 2010, they introduced what they call EdgeRank. And EdgeRank is a formula or an algorithm that dictates what people show up in your top news feed. And just in a nutshell, what it basically states is you first have an interaction with someone. So if you were constantly kind of going back and forth with someone, whether that is on your wall, in messages up here, if you're talking to someone in messages, even if you're poking someone, you can poke people on Facebook. All of that interaction is what they call affinity. So the more interaction that you have, or the more affinity that you have towards a person, that gives you a certain score. Then an individual post that is put up. So here's a post by Roost that's put up. The more interaction that this particular post has, like if someone likes it, or someone comments on it, or someone shares it, then that gives you another score. And then there's the last piece called time decay. And that is how long has this post been up. So this one just came up a minute ago. This one was up 31 minutes ago. And I just encourage you to look at your top news feed and see that there's a bunch of different timestamps on all these. It's not like in the ascending order that we talked about on your most recent, but it's really all over the place. An hour ago, 12 hours ago. And so that's a third piece of it. So there's these three numbers, one for affinity, or how much interaction you have with someone, one for the interaction that the individual post gets, how many likes, comments, and shares, and then the last score you get is for how long that particular post has been up on the Facebook platform. You total all of those scores up, and then what happens is the higher the score, the higher that particular piece of content is in your top news feed. And so that's why if you have this interaction group of 20 to 30 people, that's why they keep showing up, because you're interacting with their content and they're interacting with your content. So what you want to do is you want to start to expand the people that you're interacting with. And what that does is it brings more people into your top news feed, and it makes more content available to you instead of this closed off group. And going back to that little list that I showed you here, this people I want to get to know better list, is because these were people that I was not interacting with on Facebook on a regular basis. And I put a group together so I would come to this and start interacting with them. Because what happens? I start interacting with their content, they start interacting with my content, we start to build this affinity or this closeness together, and then automatically what starts to happen over time is those people start to show up in my top news feed on a regular basis. All right, so we have another question here. Let's get to this question real quick. Ken Brittman is asking a question. Let me move this out real quick. Can you post on the top news feed? Yes, Ken, just to understand, you can post from two different places. So you can post either from your profile, if you happen to be on your profile, you have, status, photos, links, videos, questions right here. You can also post when you're in your news feed. Now, but I just want you to understand kind of there is no real difference on you posting, but this does not automatically put this into the news feed just because you post from here. What this does is it puts it into the same queue, whether you post it from your profile, from the news feed. If you were to post something from like our product, our Roost campaign creator, any of those, when you post it in, Facebook still determines where that particular post shows up in other people's news feed. So a lot of people get confused. They post something up like on their profile. They post something here, and then all of a sudden they go to their news feed and they're like, oh my God, I double posted. That's not the case. What happens is you post from that profile, because you probably interact with yourself, sometimes your posts are going to show up in your own news feed. Not always, but sometimes they do. All right, I'm going to come back to some other stuff up in here on the news feed, but I want to get to Lucy's, her little star of the day, which is lists, because I think lists will start to make all of this other stuff that I'm going to show you guys make a little bit more sense. So lists have been around for a long time, but like I said, a lot of people just don't utilize lists at all. I've been utilizing lists for, God, probably a year and a half, 2 years now, and they have just made Facebook such a better experience for me. Ken has a follow-up to that. Okay, so scoring gets my post in the top news feed. Yeah, so the edge rank is what determines what shows up in your top news feed, Ken, and also your content showing up in other people's top news feed. And so that's why you really need this interaction to have your stuff show up in other people's, and they need to have interaction with you to have it show up in yours. Hopefully that makes sense. I didn't want to make it too complicated, but I think it's something that most people need to understand. But getting back to lists, let's come up here to the account section, and you will come down here to edit friends. All right. So just before we get onto the list, Jill asked a question. Is there a way to view posts older than 2 or 3 days? I noticed this change about a month ago. I know they've been taking stuff out of the feed. I didn't know what the exact date was on it. So what happens, what she's talking about really quick before we get into this, because I think this is an important question. If you come down here, you will see down at the bottom here, mine's been showing this actually even shorter than that. So I'm not sure if you're talking about, Jill, just your top news feed or your own feed, because I haven't been able to see anything outside of what just shows up on my top news feed. It keeps giving me this message, and I thought it was just me, but I guess this is happening to everyone. It says there are no more posts to show right now. Yeah, so Jill, it's actually been cutting down lower than that for me. So if you're still able to get 2 or 3 days, you're a little ahead of me. But I think what they're trying to do is save on storage, because with 640 million people, you can just imagine the data storage that Facebook is up against. But yeah, so I know you can still search, so they have to be somewhere. They're not showing up in the regular news feed. Maybe that's just duplication of efforts. All right, news feeds. I'm going to stick on track on this. So if you guys ask me a question in the next 3 minutes, I'm going to come back to that afterwards. Again, accounts, edit friends, and what this is going to show you is it's going to show you a couple different things. So these are the friends that you have on your Facebook personal profile. It also integrates into this the pages that you have liked. So any page that you've hit the like button is counted in this. And I want to just bring that up because I think it's very important. There is a 5,000 friend limit on your Facebook personal profile. Now, a lot of people go, 5,000, oh my God, that's just insane. But included in that 5,000 is any pages that you have also liked. So those are included in that 5,000 number. So let's say you have 2,000 friends, but you've liked 3,000 pages. You have actually hit your limit, and you cannot add any more friend requests that you might get in. So just take that in consideration, because I found that out kind of the hard way. I liked a lot of pages because I was interacting with a bunch of pages and had more pages than I probably should have, and got up to a pretty high level of friend requests and could not take any more requests on. So I had to go back and kind of pare down my my pages that I liked. Now there's a couple different ways that you can either find people or look at people. So you can go to your all friends list, and this brings up everyone. It is in alphabetical order, but you'll see that there's people up here in the top that put these little dashes and stuff in here, so they come up first, little sneaky tricks. And then it goes alphabetical by first name, kind of go through. You can also look at it from recently interacted. So these are people that you have had some kind of interaction with recently. I think when they say recently, I think it's within the last 6 months, I think is what the recently interacted was. Then you can also break it down by current city, school, workplace, anything like that. But if you want to do a list, what you can do is you can come in here and you can go up to this little button here that says create a list, click on it. And what it's going to do is, and this is going to take a second on mine, and I should have used my other, I should have used my other account, because I have a test account that I use. Because what this is doing is it's bringing up all of the friends and pages that I have an association with. And sometimes it takes a little while, because there's a few of them in there, because it's not only pulling in their name, but it's also pulling in their little thumbnail photo, so you can kind of see who they are. So then what you can do from this right here is this is everyone that you have a connection with. All the friend requests that you've had, either coming into you or you friending someone else, and then all of the pages that you have liked. So I can create a new list name called Webinar Test, just so you guys can see. And then what I can do is I can start clicking on people. And all of these people are going to now be included in this particular list. I can also, if I don't want to go scrolling through all of these people, if I know there's a certain person that I want to put in here, I can start typing their name. My computer would go a little quicker. And I can just look at them from that level. I can also put a last name in here. Again, I apologize for the slowness on my computer. It's a PC, so we just expect that. There it goes. And then I can pick Dan here. And as you'll see, it'll blue box it, and it will put a little check on it. And then I can go ahead and hit Create List. Now you go, Derek, hey, that's great. I put these people in a list. What does that mean? What can I do with it? Well, there's a lot of great things that you can do with it, and I'll show you really quickly on what you can do with that. If I want to add a person to this list, I could come in here and I can just type their name in here, and it will start to bring them up. I can put Jeff in this list, and it will add to it. It does an interesting thing here. So if you pick people that are very similar as far as friends that they have in their network, it also suggests people over here on this side. And then you can just click their little plus sign here, and it will bring them over into this list. So I suggest for most people that you put a couple of lists together. What I've done is, I have my close friends and family. I have my Facebook pages. I've got people that I've met face-to-face. I have ones that have mutual friends but no face-to-face. I put them in the real estate industry if they know me from the real estate industry. And then I have ones, old high school friends, old college friends. So what you can do with that is a couple different things. So I've got my list together. go back to my newsfeed. Remember the first thing that I showed you even before we went into the list is now I have these lists here that I can look under. So if I want to go to old college friends, not only am I in that list, but I've also got other people that I went to college with in here. Same thing with my old high school friends. Can look those up. And then anybody that's on that list, if they post up here, their information is going to show up in this newsfeed. You can see I post probably way too much because I'm dominating my own list here. But another couple things you can do. One is when you get the friend requests in. So if someone sends you a friend request, what you can do with that is, like this one here, Alan Hertz. If I confirm him, I've never met Alan face-to-face, but I can put him in a list. Alan is a mutual friends, no face-to-face. He's also in the real estate industry, and then I can save him. He automatically is segmented into a group now. So it's just like having an email list. You're not going to send a communication out via email to maybe everyone. Maybe you do. But normally what happens is you send out a certain message to a certain group of people that are going to be receptive to that message. Same thing with Facebook. If you think about it that way, all you're doing is you're putting these people in these different groups. You can determine what information you hear from them. You can also determine what information you send out to them. And I think that's even more important. Ken was asking, this is on a separate level, this came in just a little while ago, is there a separate news feed for groups? There is not a separate news feed for groups. The groups show up in your messages, but not necessarily, if it's an open group, that information can show up in the posts on the news feed. Whoops. All right, guys. So continuing on the list level. So let's say I'm going to do a status update. Great. Say hi. So I can do a couple different things with this. I could just send it out as it is. That goes out on the news feed. Or if I can come down here, and as you'll see, I have a couple different choices here. I have everyone, and when we talk about everyone, that means everyone on Facebook. So all 640 million of the people who are on Facebook could potentially see this message. Now, don't think about this like email. You aren't sending this out and it's going out to everyone. Going back to our newsfeed discussion, the only people that see that information are the people that have some kind of connection to you, or, because this will show up also on my profile, would to come to my profile directly. So you have to kind of think of this as it's in a little bit of a vacuum. It's not like it's just going out there. Also, when you have it here for friends of friends, what that means is one level deeper than the friends you have. So if you have 1,000 friends on Facebook, it means out of those 1,000 friends, any of their friends could see that communication also. Then you also have friends only. That means that whatever message you put up there, the only people that could, on Facebook, that could see that particular message are people that you have a friend connection with. Doesn't mean it goes out to all of them. It just means that they have the opportunity to see that piece of information. Then we could come down here and we could go to Customize, where, again, we have those options, but we also have this specific people here too. And this is where lists become really interesting, because I can start typing the name of one of my lists, and now that comes up. So let's just say an example. This is the example that I like to use all the time. Let's say you went to Las Vegas, and we always know what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. If there was a group of old high school friends that you went to Vegas with, and you wanted to share a comment or a photo or whatever it may be, you could make that particular piece of content only visible to people that are in that old high school friends list. So if I was to save that setting and I scroll over this little lock here, you'll see it says old high school friends. So I'm going to go ahead and cut and paste this and show you. Well, I'm just going to make this for everyone so you can kind of see how the interaction happens. And then I'm going to do tell me if you see this post. Doing testing. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back to customize my old high school friends, save that setting. It's only going to go out to high school friends. And then I'm going to share that. So Kenneth, just coming back to your question, I posted this on my news feed, but if I go back to my profile, it's also on my profile. So whether I post when I'm on the news feed or post on my profile, it shows up here on mine. So I'm already getting, Cindy already knows I'm on this webinar, so she's making a little comment. We got a couple of questions here. Let's go back to the questions real quick. Yeah, Kenneth, so if you make a group, and I wasn't going to go into groups in this session. That's actually in my Facebook 301 session. But just to really quickly, if you do make a group, you can make that either secret, open, or closed. And those dictate what information people can see. Not in the news feed, but what they can see as part of the group if they search for that group. Thank you, Kenneth, for the questions. I really appreciate it. Makes this a lot more interactive. So that is lists. What else can we do with lists? We can affect our privacy settings, and that's what we're going to roll into right now. We're here at the 10:30 mark, so we're half an hour into it. The privacy settings are very, very important. Unfortunately, again, there's a lot of people that underutilize the privacy settings, and they freak out about information that they're going to share on Facebook, and you really can lock a lot of different information down. You can also use these lists to dictate what people see, what information on your profile. So how do we get to lists? I mean, how do we get to privacy settings? We come up here again to account, and we come down to privacy settings. Now, if you've never been in here before, what you will see for the very first time is the recommended section here. And it breaks it down kind of in these nice, neat little buckets. But that's not necessarily in your best interest to have certain information be seen by everyone on Facebook or even the friends of your friends. Sometimes it's not even appropriate for your friends only. So that's why they have this other segment here. And when you start messing with this, what you'll start to see is you'll get a custom section, and you'll start to have certain information that can only be seen by certain groups of people. So when you come into the privacy settings, you'll come down here to customize settings. And when you click on that, you will have all of these different pieces of information that can be seen on your profile. Because I'm not sure if you're aware, even if you're not logged into Facebook, if you just happen to go to facebook.com/whatever your user ID is. I have a custom username, which is facebook.com/Doberby. So if you go to that, .com/Doberby. Whoops, forgot the /. then you'll go directly to my profile. And even if I wasn't logged into Facebook, I could still go there and I would see a little bit of information. And I will show you how to get these usernames in just a quick second. So again, going back, I just want to clarify this. There's these three main segments. There's everyone. That means everyone on Facebook could see whatever this information is next to this section. Post by me. Friends of friends are one level deep from the friends that you have. So anyone that you have a friend connection with, their friends could see that information. Friends only are the only people that you have had a friend connection with. You've either accepted a friend request that's come in, or you've sent out a friend request and it's been accepted by someone else. And then you have this customize section. Again, if I come into this customize section, there's a couple different things that I can do. One is I can put a list in like we've already talked about, or I can actually type an individual. And that person could come up. So I could make this information only be able to be seen by Morgan Brown. Or on the flip side, if I want to hide that information, let's say you had an old girlfriend or an old boyfriend that you didn't want them to see your phone number or your contact information. You could actually type, if you're friends with that person on Facebook, which I wouldn't assume that you are, but let's say you are, you could actually type that person's name in and hide that information from them. So there's a lot of different things you can do, and you just need to be able to see what this information is. So what I suggest to most people is leave everything open to everyone for the initial, when you're actually setting this up. And why I do that is because then you'll be able to see what a lot of people could see if you left this all open, which I wouldn't assume that you would, but it just gives you a good idea. So if you, whoops, gosh darn it, got fumbly fingers today. So if I put that to everyone, and you don't have to hit, there's no save button or anything like that when you just move that, then what you can do is you can come up here to preview my profile, and then what this shows you is if someone was just to log into Facebook, or someone came across your profile one way or another, this is all the information that they would see on your profile under your info section. So if someone was on your info tab, this is all the information that they would see. So they would see, address, your phone number, your screen name for your instant message. They would see your different websites. If I had an email in there, they would see that. So there's a lot of bit of information there. So as you can see, it has the add a friend button, add as friend, because it's showing me what I would look like to the general public. And then just click on your wall, you can notice that I see all my wall posts and everything like that. Now I can go back to the privacy settings, hit customize, and now I can start to, customize this information. So let's say that my address, I only wanted to have that be seen by specific people. Let's just say it's my wife. My phone number, I only want that to be seen by my old high school friends, or old college friends. Let's see, this is only my friend Dan. Say this is my friend Morgan. Let's say my IM screen name is only my mom. So you see that. Now let's go back and look at that again. What you'll see down here in the bottom is all that personal contact information is gone. So this is if someone just came in here. The only things they could see are just my websites and my Facebook page. So you can really kind of pick and choose what information you see. Now the reason that I got into privacy settings in the first place was I have 2 small children. And if you come in here to the privacy settings, there's a couple different things that make this important. One is if you let your friends of people tag my photos, post and see them, you can allow that aspect here. Also, if you come under customized settings, you can edit the privacy settings of existing photo albums and videos. And this was, to say the honest truth, this is why I first started using these privacy settings at all. If there was albums in here that I had that were pictures of my kids. And so I started to make these only available to specific people, and that's why lists started to become important, because I came in here and I started using, making them locked down to specific people, and it took me forever because there was a ton of people that I wanted to be able to share this with. So the list made it much easier. So if I made my close friends and family list, I could just bring that list in and make that photo album that had any pictures of my kids locked down, and those will be the only people that could see it. Now I can also do an only me, so I'm the only one that sees that photo. I don't know why you would use that, but there are situations that you would want only you to be the only person to see that. And you can do that on any photo album that you have. If you have a ton of photos like me, sometimes it makes it a little challenging. When I went back and actually started to do this, it's just a little challenging. You can also do the same thing. See, I haven't done these. These are new ones that I put up that I didn't set the new settings. I have to go back and change those. But you can also do it on the videos that you put up in your system too. So that's a really important aspect of it, especially if you have kids and you want to protect them a little bit and keep them out of the limelight. All right, so let's go back to my profile really quickly. So here we go. Got on my webinar. This is showing up to everyone. I had this open to everyone. Then you see there's 2, 4, 6. There's 7 people that have commented on this. I made this one only available to old high school friends. They're probably not on here, and no one's commenting on that. So open up to a big group, open up to a very specific group. It's actually not seen it. All righty, let's got a couple more subjects that I want to cover really quickly. We're coming up on the 15 minutes left in the webinar. So I went through this fairly quickly, but I want to touch on actually put your name in a post that they're putting up. All of that would come into the notifications section. This can also include, as Kenneth had alluded to before, if you're involved in a group, any group notifications come in here. So you see here, this is a notification from a group. All of these, when it says like your or something to you, it means it's something that you put out there. And these are all the notifications. So it tells you with these little red boxes with the numbers in them how many notifications you actually have. This is our message section. Messages are similar to kind of an email. They've recently updated the messages section. So there's two different segments to your messages. There's your regular messages and then other. So because pages can actually send you messages too, since those are not a real quote-unquote person, those sit into this other section. But there might be information in this other section that you really want in your main messages section. So let's say here's SMM Camp. I would like that in my section, so if I click on that, I can come up here to Actions, and I can move this to Messages. And if I go back to Messages, I will see down here that now SMM Camp is now in there. So this is starting to act more like regular kind of email. Got another question here. Yeah, Kenneth, a notification is not a message. You will get a separate notification or a separate indicator that you have a notification versus getting a message. So messages are like, think of them like email or like an instant message. I can send something back. But the cool thing about it is if you have communication with someone on the new messages, what it does is it brings all of that communication that you've had over the length of time. Let's find someone that, so all the interaction that I've had back forever is brought into the one inline message. So it's not like email where you have to go and find everything. It's brought our interactions between Derek and Rachel into one grouping. So Maureen, you said you don't have any other in your messages, just updates or messages. Is that because you have a Facebook email? You have not been upgraded to the new messages. I thought they had put this out there full bore, but I guess it's not. If you go to facebook.com/messages, oh, message. Oh my goodness, they changed it. I forgot the URL. Oh, Maureen, you stumped me. There is a URL that I just can't remember off the top of my head right now. That you can go and actually sign up for the messages, and then they'll put you up to it very soon. I'll put that on our Roost Facebook page. If you go to facebook.com/Roost, I will find that and I will put that up there for you, Maureen. I apologize for not knowing that right off the top of my head. And then there's also friend requests here. So friend requests are the requests that you have that are coming in. Now anybody can hit the add friend button on the various pages. So if I go and type in, let's just type in Lisa, and I hit this. So see, I know a lot of Lisas, but if I get more results, there's got to be someone that will come up that I don't know. My goodness, probably shouldn't have picked Lisa. All right, let's pick what's an uncommon name? I keep thinking of common names. How about Carol? That's still, I don't think I know that many Carols. Maybe I do. All right, I know too many people. There we go. So, oh, that's a page. I don't want pages. I just want people. There we go. Hold on. So there we go. Add as a friend. So if I go here to Carol, anybody can click on this Add as a Friend button on any page on Facebook. What it's starting to do now is if you don't have any connections with that person, if you don't have any mutual friends, or there's just doesn't seem like there's any connection, there's been a lot of people out there that have just been abusing this. They just try to add as many friends as possible because they're either going to try to interact with them in an unscrupulous way, or they just want a lot of friends. So you can click this, but sometimes now you'll get a message back that says, do you really know this person? And you kind of have to go through a rigmarole, especially if you do know the person, to try to prove that aspect. But if you do know the person and you click that and you have this kind of commonality connection, they will get a notification in their friend request section. And what they're doing now is they're showing that, you know, how many mutual friends that me and this person have. And what I normally do is I normally go to that person's page and then I try to figure out kind of how we know each other. What is the commonality connection? And when they don't put any kind of information about like their work or, you know, how we could know each other, I usually don't accept the invitation. Now, Brian, I actually met in up in Sacramento at the California Association of Realtors directors meetings. So he's actually in the financial business, but I put him under the real estate industry because I put everyone under there, and then I confirm. And now we are connected. So the friend button goes away, and now Brian can see certain information that I allow to people in my friends group. So there's a notification that came in. I click on that. What you'll notice is that they're starting to roll up a lot of the notifications. Back in the old days, I would have got 9 different notifications in here off of this one comment, and this is probably the one regarding the say hi. So I would have gotten notifications for each one of these people in here. They've gotten a little smarter in that, and they've calmed your notifications down a little bit. So they just roll them up and say, Nicole Nicolay, Ricky Lee Stone, and 7 other friends commented on your status. So you don't keep getting notifications. I mean, you'll still get the red notification box with a number in it, but you don't get those all in the thing, so you have to scroll down forever to find all this information. All right, I got about 9 minutes left. I want to share a couple other things for you. I was going to come back to the username aspect. So again, when you log into Facebook, you get your account up and running, you have the ability to get a custom username. So what you can do is you can come up here to facebook.com/username. And what you'll see is you'll see a couple different boxes that you might have. One is your regular username for your personal profile. Now, I've already set mine, but what it will do is it'll give you a little box there to put in a username that you would have for yourself. Now, I would really recommend that you don't put like a business name or anything like that. I would put some real name that you have, so it's easier for people to find you on Facebook. So what have I done? I've done my first initial and my last name. This is what I have on almost all of my social profiles, is Doverby, my first initial, last name. Some people want to do their first name and their last name all together. So in my case, it would have been facebook.com/Derek Overby. Some people like to use Derek.Overby, but you can't use any different characters outside of a dot, or I think it's just a dot that you can do. So I really recommend that you do that. You'll see another one on here for edit pages. If you do happen to have a business page, you can also do this, but just realize for a business page, you have to have at least 25 likes for that page. And I'm doing a Facebook 201 class coming up where I talk in more depth about pages and all that stuff. So Kenneth is coming back. So the notification is not a message, but what your group or friends are saying about you or to you. Yeah, let me go back to that, Kenneth, because maybe I didn't explain that correctly. So that's username. So we're going back to notifications really quickly. So let's say, you know, I put this piece of information up on my profile. I'm on a webinar. It would be great if you could say hi to everyone. So now what has happened is anybody that's interacted with that particular piece of content that I put up there, I'm notified anytime that someone has an interaction on that. So if someone hits the like button, if someone comments on it, I don't get a notification because you can obviously see there's not a share button on there because there's nothing to really share about this piece of content. It's not like it's a link or a video or a photo or anything like that. But if someone hits the like button or the comment button, I'm notified. Then these are coming in from a group. So I'm in a group called Tech Support Group for Real Estate Agents. And I get notifications. Notifications are turned on for that particular group. I can turn them off if I want to, but I've chosen to leave those on because it's a very interactive group that I'm a part of. So hopefully that makes sense. So Cindy over here, she liked my status. So if I go back to that and I click on it, she is the only one that had actually hit the like button on that. So she comes in twice. She not only comes in for the comment that she makes, but also for hitting the like button. So I want to show a couple other things. So let's look at the newsfeed here. We have a couple different things that we can do on this. We can just do a regular status update. That could be any kind of post that we want to put up. We can drop in a photo, either upload a photo from our hard drive, take a photo with our webcam if we have one, or we can create an album. We can do a link. This would be a link that we have from, you know, another source, whether it's a blog or a website. We can also do a video. We can record a video from our webcam, or we can upload a video from our hard drive. And then you should have the question section in here too. So the question section is kind of like, if you guys are familiar with Quora, it's the ability to get answers to a question that you might have, not just about Facebook, but about anything in general. So I could type in there, what do you love about living in San Jose? So that'll be shared with friends. It'll actually go up on my wall as a wall post, and then people can comment on that if they have any kind of comment to say. Now, a couple of things you can do with your status, which you might not be familiar with, is when you start typing someone's name in here, and watch it, well, there it goes. So you type their name in, you'll see that you have this drop down for that status update. Now I can click on Morgan's name, and you'll see that it highlights it in this blue box. So I go ahead and do that. Doesn't matter what I have on here. This is open to everyone. And I hit share on that. What will happen on that, if it goes through, there we go. So it shows up in my newsfeed, shows up on my profile, but you'll notice that Morgan's name is a link now. So if I click on that, it now shows up on Morgan's wall. Now there is a setting within Facebook where you can disallow that. You can make it that you can't do that on people's wall because some people abuse that. But another thing that you can do with that is you can make it just like you can just use their first name. So if I was going to go for Nicole, I could just take off her last name and again I can share that, and even though it only says Nicole on there, all right, there it goes. So again, it shows up on my newsfeed, shows up on my profile. If I click Nicole's name, I go off to her profile. Ah, interesting. Nicole has it shut off. So that's, I just want to show you. So even though I could tag her name, I'm not showing up on her wall as a tag post. So people might have been abusing that for her, so she turned that piece off. I'm glad I did Nicole, so I could show her that. All right, we've got a couple more questions. So Kenneth made a comment about my question staying up in my newsfeed. It actually goes away. It just shows up there for a second, and then it actually drops down because it's my newsfeed. So my question is now gone. What other little secrets do I want to show you in the next? Oh, it's 11 o'clock. All right, guys. We have covered a lot of information. I don't want to make your heads explode, but hopefully you guys got some good stuff. Mike, yes, I am recording this, so it'll be available for you guys to go over. And I appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with me for the last hour. I had a lot of fun, a lot of great questions. And if you guys have any questions that you didn't ask or you were afraid to ask on this webinar, you can always send them to me at cs@roost.com. That's cs@roost.com. And I'll be sure to answer those as quickly as possible. Thanks again, guys. Have a great day, and look for this recording. I'll put it up on the link. I'll put it up on the facebook.com/Roost Facebook page in just a little while. All right, guys.